Hi, welcome back to Wildcard FPL. It's game week 11, and for the managers who don't have Haaland, is it time to rush out and get him before the Bournemouth game, or is it time to hold off and maybe get Eddie Nketiah in after his hat-trick at the weekend? We're going to talk about forwards and what transfers we're going to make, but first we're going to go through our team scores from the week just gone. John, how did you get on this week? Who was good and bad in your team?
Below average week, big red arrow. 7 million rank for 60 points. Feels a little bit harsh. Some terrible scores across the pitch. Bad was Trippier and Burn, double Newcastle defence. 2 goals conceded and 2 yellows, so 0 points. And so sticking with Haaland saved me a bit. Wish I'd captained him at the last minute, but I didn't. Douglas Luiz, who I got in a couple of game weeks ago, is scoring points, although Diaby was the big winner. So yeah, that was me. Not great.
I was very similar. I had 60 points as well, but I took a -4 to get there, so unfortunately I didn't end up with 60 all in. Cash did well for me. He got a clean sheet by virtue of coming off early before Luton scored their goal against Aston Villa, so I'm glad that Cash did get some points in the end. Don got a goal and 3 points, so he got 10 all in. Friday match for Spurs. Bit nervous about how they were going to turn out in that early match, but they kept their streak alive, so well done Spurs. Bad for me, Watkins. I'm glad I didn't captain Watkins. Lots of people did. Only came away with 2 points. Everybody seemed to be doing something apart from Watkins, so a red arrow for me. Alf, how about you? How did you get on this week?
Good week all round. I got 73 points all in following playing my wild card. Big green arrow, just under 450,000. So I'm climbing up the ranks, which is great. From a good perspective, Fabian Schär, very thankful to my past self for choosing Schär over Trippier. He got an assist and everyone else did really badly in the Newcastle defence. So I got a bit lucky there. Simicast as well. He's now had 2 clean sheets and just a really good pick. What a legend. 2 6-pointers in a row, which is fantastic. And then bad, I'm going to have to put in Mitoma. Mitoma playing very defensively is a bit of a concern, and he only got 2 points. And then I'm going to put Saka. Sheffield United at home. He got a very lucky assist. I just expected more from Saka. I think he's playing quite wide with Gabby, Jesus being out and Nketiah playing as 9. I think that's just the way they have to play without Jesus. So yeah, a little bit disappointed in that sense, but really good fixtures coming up for both of them. So I'm hopeful, but that's my game week in a nutshell.
Awesome. And Steve, how did you get on this week?
Great week. 73 points as well. I'm a no Haaland man, and it worked out not too bad. It was a really good decision was Diaby. It felt wrong taking him out before Luton. He'd had a couple of blanks, and that was exactly the right decision. I was really pleased with that, delivering 13 points. And then my other good was Darwin. I spoke a couple of weeks ago about getting him in when I got my wild card a couple of weeks ago. I'm not a big fan of his finishing, but I think he's just going to get he's going to get so many chances. Hopefully put some away, and he absolutely did. He put 1 away and got an assist, 10 points. My bad, I definitely picked Jarrod Bowen as my bad. I was a bit disappointed with West Ham in overall versus Everton. Looks a bit frightening actually whether Bowen is actually going to stay on my team for long term. And then the other bad again was another West Ham player, Areola. Didn't keep a clean sheet, but even Areola chipped him with a save point, so he got 3 points for me instead of 2. So even then I was pretty happy with what he delivered. Overall, a nice green arrow. I'm into the top 2 million, so I'm at 1.9 million now, and I'm hoping I'm going to continue climbing up the ranks. So happy with my week.
Excellent stuff. Green arrows is what we want to see. And of course, if you want to challenge us in FPL, we're on the ascendancy right now, the 4 of us. It's been a bad start to the season, but if you want to jump into the league while you can still maybe leapfrog us with your current points, the league code will be down below. We're nearly at 100 entrants into the league right now, so maybe you'll still be in the top 100. Who knows? The big news this week is Haaland ended his dry spell. He's got Bournemouth coming up. Steve, you and I both don't have Haaland. John and Alf, you both do. So, Steve, are you going to be rushing out and getting Haaland? Are you going to be doing some major surgery to your team, or are you going to stick as you are?
Definitely not. No, I think anyone who's out there who is woken up on Monday morning crying over the fact that they don't have Haaland in their team after they sold him, well, I'm hoping that when you sold him, you had a plan, because that's what I've got. I've got a plan. It's working pretty well so far. I look at my points for this month, and in most of my mini leagues, I'm outscoring everyone who has Haaland. So even with a mega haul like he did against my United on Sunday, it's not too damaging because I've got other players coming in and covering it. Yeah, it could be a monster haul against Bournemouth. Bournemouth look absolutely terrible. I'm sure Haaland will go to town on it, but we'll suck it up. Players that I've got and that have brought in instead of Haaland, the likes of Darwin and Diaby, they don't tend to be highly owned. So when they do score points, you do get a nice big rank boost as well. For me, I'm not rushing out. I've still got my plan plan. Game week 15, game week 16 is my long-term plan to get him back in.
John, are you quite happy you've still got him?
Yeah, I'm happy I've still got him. I've reneged on my promises and kept him. I just wish I'd captained him. I think I'll captain Haaland against Bournemouth since I've got him. He seems motivated. I think when strikers break a little duck like that, they're a bit more dangerous. But yeah, I wouldn't be spending 8 or 12 points to get him back in when he's playing into 6-pointers with the league leaders and another one of the title challenges straight away afterwards. So I'm happy I've got him for Bournemouth, but wouldn't get him in.
Alf, we went to watch the Sheffield game at the weekend. It was a good game for Arsenal, but like you said, it seemed a bit strange. Saka seemed to be a bit all over the place. Odegaard didn't feature. The main star of the day was Eddie Nketiah with a hat-trick. Do you think managers should be looking to bring Nketiah in now? You have your Ollie Watkins woes. Are you thinking about Eddie Nketiah anytime in the future?
It has actually crossed my mind to get him in. You know, I can't get rid of Watkins. So
We've been here before.
You can, because we
so
quite like the goals.
So if you think about Watkins, like I've had him when he hasn't hauled. So the pattern really should be I get rid of him and then he'll do very well. That might be the way it goes. But it did cross my mind because Nketiah is obviously quite cheap and he's nailed and he's just scored a hat-trick and it's Arsenal and they have good fixtures. So like for all of those variables, I understand an essence of why people might get him, but it does feel a little bit too kind of points chasey for my particular liking. So I wouldn't be looking at getting him in my team. I think if he slaps again this weekend, then we might all need to look at him. But wait a second, because you don't have Haaland. We didn't ask you the question. What are you doing about Haaland? Don't try and get out of it.
I've done an early transfer. Nketiah in, yeah. I am resisting. I'm the same as Steve. I've got a long-term plan with Haaland. Even though the Bournemouth game is appealing, the long-term fixtures for City are not good. Haaland's going to be out of my team for a while. I've just got to stick to the plan.
Are you scared?
I am very scared. I have definitely.
But like the thing is, I
I'd be so scared.
I don't get the point in being scared. Like, you know what you're doing. The only reason that anyone would be scared is if they did it and they didn't have a plan of what they're doing next. You know who he is. You know what he does. You know what he's capable of. If you're really that scared, don't sell him. Like I said, when I got rid of him, for me it wasn't a case of Haaland versus no Haaland. At the time, my team was doing terribly, and now my team's doing really, really well. We get to this week, he'll score a hat trick, but we'll survive. We might have a small red arrow. Then you're into those fixtures where you're then kind of hoping now we might make up a bit more ground. Scared is not the right word for it, unless of course you sold Haaland in a fit of pique because you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, Alf and I had an interesting conversation this week about effective ownership, actually, which plays into this quite a lot. If you look at the effective ownership stats for a player at your level, what that is calculated is the number of managers who own that player plus the number of managers who captain that player. So for example, if 100% of people own Haaland for round figures, but 50% captain him, his effective ownership is 150%. So with a player whose effective ownership is high, you are going to lose points against managers who have that player. However, if you have that player and don't captain them, you are still losing rank to managers who do captain them, because effectively the only move possible for that player was to captain them.
Got a question. So what if you've got like Haaland and Salah?
So if you've got Salah and you haven't captained him, but loads of people have captained him, you do not want Salah to score. Like, he is a negative asset for you at that particular point. Very difficult situation. You have him in your team, he's there, he's taking up a spot, but you do not want him to score any points, basically.
And I guess this is the theory about if you don't have Haaland, try and improve your players across the board. If you've got Haaland, because so many people have him and captain him, you almost have to captain him.
Exactly.
Yes.
In weeks where Haaland has tough fixtures and he's arguably not the correct captain choice, you're put in a position where you have to captain Haaland, because if you play him and not captain him, you're losing rank. I still think, in terms of my plan and Steve's plan of not having Haaland for this next set of difficult fixtures, that takes a lot of problems off our plate, because by having Haaland and not captaining him for those difficult matches, we're not losing rank. Yeah, we're losing rank if Haaland hauls. We're always going to do that. But we don't have the problem of picking a £14 million player and losing rank anyway.
And not necessarily, because you might have got better players across the board.
So I didn't.
Cancelling out like Steve's had.
23 points from 2 players just stops the bleed on that. Got a plan, and I'm sticking to it. And I'll take the red arrows on the ray. I've had 3 green arrows in a row, which I had been missing out on.
It's going to be an interesting game week, Bournemouth at home versus. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it may just be a load of hyperbole.
This date has been marked in my diary as one to just go, it's going to be a red arrow week. I'm fine with that. I'll take it on the chin. Then we move into the next section where it's like, okay, now rolling my transfer this week, I'll have 2 free transfers after this game week. Then I can have a little look around and see if there's anyone out there that, like I said, I think we spoke about Jared Bowen. Jared Bowen's a really nice player to have. And he's probably, for a lot of Haaland owners, Bowen's probably out of reach. Not for all Haaland owners, but for a lot of Haaland owners, is out of reach. But if he's not delivering, then that does cause a problem for my team, because I need all those other players that I've got in instead of Haaland. I need them all to be delivering.
Exciting news this week from Wildcard FPL. Our friend Alfred, FPL Logan Roy, is doing a live stream. Alf, why don't you tell the Wildcard FPLers out there where they can find you and what's going on?
Yeah, so I've decided to start going live with EAFC, climbing the ranks from Division 10 up to Division 1. I'm currently in Division 6, so I'm doing pretty well. I've got a long way to go. I will also be taking requests to play online as well with people on the live show, so why don't you come on down?
If you want to see the streams that Alf is doing for EAFC and all of the rest of our content, make sure you subscribe and don't miss out on any of them. But back to the main show. And that brings us nicely on to what our plans are this week. So Steve, you think you're going to roll this week and give yourself 2 transfers for game week 12, is that right?
It looks like that. Team looks pretty good. There's a little bit of rotation. I'll bring Alvarez back. I benched Alvarez for United, which is the right decision. Alvarez will come back in. I'll probably bench Bowen, who is away to Brentford. I've got the bench I need to be able to just roll again and have another 2 free transfers for game week 12.
I think I'm going to do the same thing. I was looking at a potential Sun transfer out to give me a bit of money to buy better players elsewhere on the pitch. But I do believe, after a bit of reassurance from John, that Spurs are going to do the business against Chelsea. So I think I'm also going to roll. Alf, what about you? Are you making any transfers this week, or are you going to roll, do you think?
I thought about Mitoma to Mbomo, which is just a fleeting thought. I feel okay about getting rid of Mbomo, but there is a big part of me that also thinking that was a bit of a mistake. With Mitoma not doing very well on the weekend, that is tempting. I've been thinking about Zinchenko for some time. Like, I really rate him. He always does things. He gets into midfield, he's assisting in some cases, he's shooting, so he's a really good set to have. So I'm also thinking about doing Gabriel to Zinchenko. Those would be pretty crazy coming off a wild card. So I think realistically I will probably roll my transfer, having said all that. But those are 2 things that I have thought about over the past few days.
Is Wilson playing for Newcastle at the minute?
Yeah, and he's killing it.
Yeah,
he's having a great time.
I was thinking,
He's a good shout.
because I'm thinking about getting rid of Odegaard. I don't know why I got him in anyway. I know he's a great player, but I just thought he's been off it this season. Got him in on the wild card just because Saka was injured, and then he's been benched. I've been thinking about Diaby or Bowen down from Odegaard, which gives me some more money. And then I'm thinking, could I get Wilson in? If he's the starting striker for Newcastle.
Isak's out, yeah, and he's on pens. Like, Wilson's a really good asset if you can get him.
Could be the
He's
new-
also he's not that well owned as well.
Bournemouth, Chelsea up next. Could be
He
good.
is 7.8, so I'd have to take a big old downgrade from Odegaard, but I could do Palmer. I've got Gordon already. I've got some cheap midfielders in there, yeah.
You know what you need to do. Sell
Palmer
Haaland.
looks good.
So there's plenty to think about leading up into game week 11. Who are you captaining this week? Are you an anti-Haalander? Are you resolutely holding on to him ready for this Bournemouth game? Let us know in the comments below. As usual, you can find us on Twitter. Our handles will be floating around on the screen somewhere. As we mentioned before, if you want to be in the first 100 people to join the mini league, the code will also be on the screen and in the description below. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit subscribe and follow us every week here on Wildcard FPL. But in the meantime, we're looking forward to another weekend of Prem, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.